Happy Women's Entrepreneurship Day. Hey, Kelly.
Hi.
Your hair looks fabulous.
Thank you.
Yes.
You guys all look beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. All
Yeah,
right.
so welcome everybody that's popping on.
Yes. So let's kick it off. Hello, everyone, and thanks, Kelly and Brette, for joining. My name is Jennifer Vassel, and today is Women's Entrepreneurship Day, or actually tonight, and really excited to be in conversation with everyone, talking about self-love and the nuances of creative entrepreneurship. And I guess we can just kick it off by introducing ourselves. I'll start. My name is Jennifer Vassel, and I'm a children's book author, speaker, and creative entrepreneur based in LA. And I write about self love and inspiring kids and adults to overcome their insecurities and share their gifts with the world. So, who'd like to go next?
Wow, that was
Yeah.
great. I really was. I'm not prepared. I'm Brette, and I'm an artist and a nonprofit founder. My nonprofit is STUK Designs. STUK stands for Strong, Talented, United, and Knowledgeable. And we basically provide programming for underserved girls who really need support and art supplies. And yeah, that's kind of what I do. And I paint and I draw on the side of my other business. So yeah, that's
Hi.
me.
All. My name is Kelli Scates, and I'm a photographer, filmmaker, and editor from Los Angeles, California. I do travel a lot, and I also have a merchandise line that I use some of my images that I take and I put them on t-shirts and journals.
It's
And
super cute.
thank you. But yeah, that's what I do.
Cool. And so, in one word, or maybe a few words, what does self love mean to you? Like when you hear those two words, like in a sentence, how would you describe it and what does it mean to you?
Just a sentence.
I know.
A sentence or two then.
Like, I just think that's so hard because like self-love can be defined as like I feel like modern society these days is trying to make it just like a simple definition of one word, like self-love is this or self-love is that. But I think kind of similar to like the word feminist, it has many different like meanings and ways that it can be used. And like, to me, it's just like having that, really that unconditional love for yourself, no matter what state you are in, no matter if you're high, no matter if you're low, no matter if it's light, no matter if it's dark. It's just that unshakable, deep down, foundational love. Sorry about that, my dog. But to me, it's just it's a journey. I think it's a journey, and I don't think it's just one word or can be defined as one word.
Yeah, I agree. I would say that self definition of evolves as you evolve, because I think we're all working on different parts of that journey at different parts of our journey. So
Mhm.
self-love right now for somebody might just be like really learning how to like speak positively about themselves because that's what they're working on. But somebody else, that might not be the thing that they're working on. It could be something else in specific to their journey. So I think it evolves as you evolve. And for me, I think my self-love journey is also very much so tied to my spiritual journey.
Mhm.
So the deeper and more rooted I get into my spiritual practices and the deeper I become aware of who I am as a person, like that, my self-love journey evolves with that.
Yeah. I actually did, however, write a definition that I can read because it took me so long to write it because I really don't think that it is just, a simple definition. But on my nonprofit website, we came up with self-love is the beginning of a lifelong romance. It is choosing yourself first, owning who you are completely and unconditionally. It is living every day as the highest version of yourself, which creates lasting peace. And I do think like that inner peace is really important, because I don't really think that you can have that, you know, peace that passes all understanding, that unshakable peace, without that foundation of self-love, you know?
I love that. And for me, I think the way I would define self-love is the ability to identify your natural gifts, like something that is unique to you and is your natural talent, and being able to not only identify it but also share it in whatever medium that you could share it. And if you're able to do that, you're loving yourself, you're honoring yourself, and you're doing what was your divine assignment. That's how I
Ah, divine
see
Yeah.
it.
assignment.
I think that's very important what you said, to share it, because sometimes
Mhm.
people like hoard their talents. They're aware of them. They'll stay in their bedroom with them. Then maybe, but I think the big part is being fearless enough to actually share your gifts with people, and that's what we're here for, and that's how you create connections and continue to grow.
Because in a way, like, I think sometimes people have a perception of it being like egoic in sharing talent, over sharing talent, but I think it also involves ego if you hoard that talent and if you don't share it. And it's like, you know, the purpose of being here is to share the gift. It's kind of selfish to, you know, hoard it in. But
Hmm.
a lot of times fear is wrapped up in that. And I think what you said was really valid, Kelly, about, you know, self-love being connected with, you know, spirituality, because it really is. It's connected to spirituality. It's connected to mental health. And I think that's why it's so hard for people to talk about, you know?
Hmm.
And did you guys always know that you wanted to be entrepreneurs? Or do you have entrepreneurs in your family?
Um, you go first, Kelly.
I didn't know. My dad is an entrepreneur, and so I grew up seeing him be successful at it and seeing his journey. But for me, I knew I wanted to be an artist. I didn't know that being an artist was almost synonymous with being an entrepreneur. So yeah, I knew I wanted to be creative. I knew I wanted to build things and create things and worlds and images, and I used to dance. Like I knew I wanted to do that, but I did not understand that in order to make money as an artist, there is definitely a huge entrepreneurship element to it in order to survive and not be a starving artist. So, but
Which is
I
not
didn't.
talked about.
Yeah, they don't talk about that. Maybe more now, because I think the journey of an artist and entrepreneur is very different than when we were like coming out of college. But
Right.
I didn't know.
Right. I didn't know either.
Yeah, I didn't know you could make a living doing things that you're naturally good at, things that weren't the stereotypical doctor, lawyer, engineer, like things like that. I just didn't see it. And coming from a immigrant parents, being the firstborn and having only
Wait, where are your
knowing
parents from?
Jamaica.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they came here in the 70s and they worked really hard. All I knew was go to school, get an education, come out and find a job. I didn't know. And then I come from a background of a bunch of medical professionals. That's all they nursing and all that. And so if for me, I was going down the path of being a lawyer and I've pivoted so many times, but uh, when I was younger, I was really I had a natural gift for writing and I was always exhibiting that creative thing, but I don't think I necessarily had people around me who could help foster that natural gift. And so I only did what I saw. There was no representation, so that's why I'm so dedicated to being the woman that the little girl in me needed to see. And so, like, I didn't know that entrepreneurship could be a thing, or like you can actually get paid for things that you're naturally good at, with you not having to have that doctor, lawyer, engineering. And no shame to people who are in those traditional careers. I just didn't see it modeled for me any other way.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm similar to Kelly. Like my dad is also the entrepreneur. And so I mean, I grew up seeing him, you know, like just live how he wants to live, basically, and go where he wants to go. But he was always working at the same time, and he'd always be on the phone, and but at the same time, he was like passionate about his work. So it was like he was excited about it, always on the phone and always on the go. So it kind of was drilled into me, but at the same time, my dad didn't really teach me anything about entrepreneurship. And I think that that's also sometimes how it goes. And then, on the artist side of things, yeah, you really do have to learn, and a lot of times the hard way, that it really does, require hardcore entrepreneurial skills to become a successful artist. And that's why, well, that's not really why, but that's why later I saw that doing graphic design in college was like beneficial, because it helped me be able to like take my art off the page, and put it on other platforms, put it on websites. Like, now I build my own websites. I really do everything myself. So I think that helped, but at the same time, yeah, it requires a lot of just business savvy and business knowledge to become an artist, and to become just an entrepreneur that's maybe not an artist.
Right. And so I think it's funny because my dad was an artist and an entrepreneur. Like, he was in the music industry. So
Oh
he wrote,
yeah.
and so it's funny because he was definitely an artist and definitely a businessman, but he didn't teach me either. Like, that wasn't the thing. And it was one of those things, like, if you want it, then figure it out. And so and then I think also too, I saw him, but I never really saw women entrepreneurs.
Right. And I think that's why they didn't tell us.
Yeah, so it wasn't
She's
a thing.
loaded.
Like, it wasn't a whole bunch of women running their businesses that I could see. So I couldn't see myself there. So like you said, Jennifer, I think it is important that we do stuff like this so that you can see yourself in these roles.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's so valid, because it's just, even as of late, I feel like I've just had frustration. Like, why didn't my dad teach me stuff like this? Like, why? And it's like, I feel like he teaches my brother stuff, but then my brother's not an entrepreneur really.
Mm,
So it's just like, and I think men often have that it's like an old world perception.
yeah.
And I think that men who are entrepreneurs really should teach their daughters, and put them up on entrepreneurial game, because like, we need it.
Like, change the learning curve. So
Black women are the fastest group of entrepreneurs, and so it's definitely like there's a spark, and I feel like more women, specifically Black women, are realizing that they have the power to actualize their goals and dreams and to create their own opportunities after being, probably like disrespected far too many times, or just undermined or undervalued. And they just, at least speaking for me, I feel like I want to have more control over my narrative and more control over my earnings, and be able to put out whatever it is that I want to see in the world.
Controlling your narrative,
Mm-hmm.
that's key, because I think that, like, when you work for other people, when you do something else, when you are kind of like under another corporation, it's like you can partially, control your narrative, but not really. Like,
yeah.
yeah, you can't really like be on alive with like a Jack Daniels t-shirt or something like that, and like just, with those worries, or those like of like who I am or who I'm not. And I think that right now what a lot of people are doing is really stepping into their own like personal authority of like who they are and what they can do, and what rules can tell them to do or not to do. But it's like, when you are truly grounded, I feel like, in that, with that self-love foundation, like, this
Mm-hmm.
is the way I love myself, and this is the way I want to dress and represent myself and express my self-love, then that's when the game changes and things elevate.
Yeah, and something you guys both said is a big part of why I ended up doing photography and film, is because I wanted to control the narrative. I was tired of seeing the way our stories were told and then realizing, like, wait, we didn't even tell that story. So what would it look like if we told our own stories, if we were in control of the images, and then how would that change the way that we see ourselves? And then also, Jennifer, what you said about I don't know exactly what you said, but it made me think about, for what I do, even getting into it, like it's a male dominated industry that I'm in. So I still had to, even though I was like,
People
okay,
don't realize.
yeah. So once I got into it, it's like, oh, I think I can do it. But then when I'm showing up to these different events and
It's
red
hard.
carpets and different things, it's like it was a lot of fighting and a lot of having to like really learn and talk to myself to know that no, I deserve to be here too. I take
Hmm.
just as good as images as you. I know what I'm doing. I don't need you to teach me how to use my camera, sir,
Right.
to be here. And so
Right.
definitely a self-love and a self-awareness of like no, I don't, no, you're not about to punk me out of this spot because this is the spot and I got it.
Right.
It was a lot of
Right. That's,
it's,
I mean, I've experienced the exact same things. And I mean, that's why now, kind of with my nonprofit, I'm really pushing towards awareness of the lack of representation of women within the art world, of whatever field you're in the art world. Like, it's still happening, and it's happening almost like as bad as ever. Like, it's just, but people aren't bringing lighter awareness to that fact. And I think you have to have that grounding and foundation within yourself and within self-love to really hold your own in a male dominated industry. Because, like, I mean, for me, like, even I remember when I went to Ghana, I went alone and I was painting, painted a mural there. But just a woman traveling alone to Ghana, you do not even know what, things I heard, how many males tried to like control me, like to ask, how can, you should maybe use your camera more like this or that, or can, like trying to tell me what to do. And every time I'm just like, no,
yeah, I
no.
South Africa alone, and when I got there, they thought I was, they assumed nobody wanted to talk to me about the photography. They assumed that I was hair and makeup.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
They was like,
yeah,
oh yeah. Oh,
yeah.
And so you
like,
both kind of, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you both kind of touched on challenges that you've experienced with entrepreneurship. Are there any other challenges that you think you face, and how did you overcome it? Like when you're in a male-dominated space, or when people are undermining your expertise, like what did you do or say that could help somebody who might be in the same position?
Really, I think it's just that you have to, I mean, going back, self-love is really something spiritual, and you have to really go back and go in with your, not like go in yourself, and like, I think you have to like calm yourself and really recognize what your personal authority is in that
Mhm.
moment, in what is happening, and be like, no, I know who I am, and you can't tell me who I am. But not, you don't necessarily have to say it that way, but you have to know that within yourself, And I feel like that inner knowing will propel
Mhm.
whatever action needs to happen, or whatever, needs to be said will happen. But you have to like, it's like that inner understanding needs to click, that you do have all the power, that you have the authority, that you have the same authority as any other man, any other male, you know painter, any other male photographer, videographer. Like, we're on the same level. When you really know that, it's like, then I don't know, it makes them harder to try to, cut you down and try to like diminish that within you, if that makes sense.
No, no, it does. That's true.
Yeah, I think it does go back to being self-aware, and also, I don't know, there's so many parts. I think with being in the male-dominated industry, you just have to really know who you are and know that what your talent is. Like you said, like we have these natural talents, so you really have to learn to trust yourself. And also, you can't really be in your feelings a lot.
No.
Because if you get pushed out of a space, or if you are having to like, if you are being challenged by a man, like you can't be emotional about it, and then you can't go home and like you can't go there. It has to be again like an inner knowing of like this is part of the industry, and this is one of the challenges. So you just have to keep showing up. That
Yeah.
that is the thing. Like keep showing.
Yeah.
I've
Yep.
been to events where I'm not even supposed to be there and having to find a way. How do I get into this event? Like like you have to,
Exactly.
like try
Finesse.
things. You have to be fearless and be okay when something doesn't work out the way that you think it's going to work out. You can't let that stop you from to keep showing up.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, that was all facts. And I think that like yeah, I mean, it's like when you're faced with, I think what people don't realize is like if you're a woman who paints and draws, or like if you want to be a muralist, or if you are a videographer, if you're a photographer, it's like we have so much male competition, and I think that they often do try to like it's almost like subliminal the way that you can be or feel diminished. And I think though that everything Kelli said is completely accurate. Like you have to ground yourself in that moment and be like, and speak from your higher self and speak from your inner knowing. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. That I don't know if you guys watched the Kanye interview recently, but
Uh-uh.
one thing, and I'm not gonna go in because it's controversial, but whatever. But one thing that he did say is like you better tell people who you are. You need to let people know who you are. Like,
Mhm.
and you better stand up for who you are, because like in this day and age and in this society, like people are always going to try to question you, check you, like say that you didn't do something, aren't doing whatever the case. But he said to like let people know who you are and stand in that personal authority and tell your story. And side note to this, I feel like we didn't tell people our personal story of that. Like we were all roommates in one place in college at one
Yes.
point, and that was like the foundation of our entrepreneurial journeys, individually. But I thought I'd just add that side note in there.
Yeah, I slowly came around. Like Brett, I remember you drawing your logo, and I was still very much on track to become a lawyer, but I really came back. I really came back to myself. I'll say that. A series of events have happened where I realized that I need to start um, betting on myself and taking the
Mm,
lead. And I think with entrepreneurship, or I know with entrepreneurship, it's not for the faint of heart. It is, you need a lot of grit, you need a lot of diligence. Like you have to keep going. And that can be tough for a lot of people. And I want to ask you both, what is one thing that you had to unlearn on your journey? Like what kind of programming or things that you might have been taught in your upbringing that you had to like release yourself to go full force within entrepreneurship?
mm, that's deep.
It is.
I could I could start
Yeah,
for
you go
me.
first.
Yeah.
I
You start.
I so you guys knew me from college. You know, we were all in TLC too. Shout out to
Oh
LMU.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, cheers
So
to that.
it's such a full circle moment, but you guys know me from back then, and I was very much, and still to a certain extent, like I like things going in a certain path. Like I am like first I do this, then I do this. Like I've been, for me, my internal programming was more of like a, I knew exactly what I needed to do to get to the next
Are you a
destination.
Virgo? Sorry. Ah,
Pisces.
okay.
I'm a Pisces.
Okay.
I have like, I'm process driven, and I think that's why I excelled, because I knew exactly what I needed to do to get the A's, to graduate, to do the things. But with entrepreneurship, you can be checking all the boxes and you still might not get to that destination.
Exactly.
And so that's something I had to unlearn, that we are not always going to have a blueprint, and a lot of times we're being called to create our own, especially with us being first. A lot of us are firsts in our families, and we have no other type of blueprint, or some, we can always follow people's breadcrumbs and successes, but it's not going to be so rigid and linear the way that I would say I'm programmed. And I think for the most part, when we go through traditional institutions, like we are conditioned to go off that we have a syllabus, we know
Yeah,
exactly what
it's
we need to
conditioning.
do. Yeah, so for me, it was so hard to be able to transition into a space where it's so creative and there's so many variables. So that's the thing that I'm still unlearning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good one because somebody else's blueprint won't necessarily work for you. And so you can, like you said, do everything and then it still doesn't work. So that was one thing I feel like I also had to unlearn is one is the comparison. It's like, well, I did everything right, but I'm still not where I want to go be necessarily. And like, but this person is doing this, and this is being transparent. Like, I think we all kind of struggle with comparison, even though we don't want to or we don't want to admit it. And I think that was one of the things I had to unlearn, that even though I think my photos look top tier, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna be where this person is, because my journey is different and I will get there or I may not get there. That may not end up being where I go. And I think that's the other thing I had to learn, was to learn how to pivot,
yeah,
because things change and you have to be okay. Like I started off, like you said, you started off wanting to be a lawyer. I started off as a dancer. To pivot into this, it was scary. And so to be okay with the fact that your journey is a journey and that it will change, and you may want to at one point, like I was into I did a lot of entertainment and like celebrity photography and things, and as I got into those rooms I realized, oh, I really don't want to do this.
mm-hmm.
So okay, so what do I want to do? And am I wrong if I stop and don't do this anymore? Like, and having that conversation. So learning to be okay with like that as you go on this journey and as you learn more on the journey, you will be making changes and pivoting a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pivots are entrepreneurship, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and pivots are not failing either. It's
No,
Good
yeah.
point.
no. That's that part. Yeah. Okay, so for me, this is an interesting answer because like I guess I was raised to like, you know, how Kelly said earlier, like you can't really be all in your feelings. You have to go for it as an entrepreneur. Like you can't be too sensitive. You got to just like go for it. You can't like take people's opinions too seriously and all that. So I feel like my dad raised me in that kind of way. And like, you know, I mean, he's from Jersey and I just was as a very sensitive person, I was raised to just like, you know, just be hardcore and like just, you know, put your feelings to the side. You fall down, you get back up, like you keep going, like you know, keep marching forward, you do it. And so while I was taught that, at the same time, like that's also the very thing that I had to unlearn, because like there was no real like self-love in those teachings, you know, and there was no real like softness in those teachings, which is really like my innate way of being is very like, you know, emotional and like very like feely and whatever, but I wasn't really raised to hold those kind of things within me, like. And so it was an interesting balance of having to like, you know, retain some things but like and then like unlearn the rest, if that
Right.
makes sense.
I want to, somebody in the chat, Jamil Walk said, in any environment, feelings are illusionary. Being original is what makes you you. Violet Bloom said, that's it. Keep showing up. Reflection said, hey, ladies. Hey.
Hey girl.
Stacy, yeah, queens. Hey. Okay.
Thank you for that, thank you for that.
And for the few who joined, welcome. We're talking about self-love and the nuances of creative entrepreneurship in celebration of Women's Entrepreneurship today. I mean, Women's Entrepreneurship Day, which is today. If you have any questions, go ahead and use the question bubble. If you have any questions for us, we'd love to answer.
Oh, there's a questions bubble, that's exciting. I didn't even know.
Or that little thing at the bottom.
Yes.
So what would you tell someone who's struggling on their path to entrepreneurship or their path to loving themselves in their full authentic self? Like, what would you say to somebody like that?
Um, I'd say it's a journey, and it's baby steps, and it sometimes feels like you're moving in slow motion, or maybe not at all. But then one day you happen to wake up and feel, you feel a little bit better, and you feel a little bit more, like yourself. And I think that it's a lot about the inner work that is not so much fun to do, and it's stuff that you really have to do in just by yourself, like you have to kind of be alone sometimes, and you have to separate yourself from people to really just like delve into yourself and to know and understand who you are, what makes you tick, how you feel, what your triggers are. But I think that, when you do take that time, that lasting inner peace that it provides you with, is it's worth the journey. That, and it doesn't feel like that when you're on it sometimes, and it's a lot of like the self-love journey isn't, it's not all rainbows and butterflies and unicorns, even though I wish it was. But I think that, just even when it feels like there is no light, like because you're doing this work, you're still on the way to the light. You're still going to see the light. There is that light at the end of the tunnel, even if it seems dark most of the way down.
Yes, I agree 100%. And that's kind of in the same vein of what I was going to say. It takes time to rewire your brain.
Yes.
A lot of time. So I would say to keep doing it. Like it's not rainbows and unicorns, and it's not going to happen overnight. So if you are just starting and you're starting with, let's say, affirmations or your gratitude journal or something like that, don't think because you said it for 2 weeks that now you are the queen of self-love. Like, that's not how it works. It might take you 2 to 3 years for it to finally like really integrate and for you to really embody that. Like, it's not something that happens overnight. So I would say to the person who's working at it, and it does go hand in hand with the entrepreneurship journey, because you don't always see the results right away. It's a lot of baby steps, a lot of positioning yourselves, a lot of meeting somebody here and thinking it didn't do anything, and then a year later they give you a phone call because they remembered you. So you just never know. So I would say to just keep doing it, keep showing up, and I promise you it works. If it don't feel like it's working, like Brette's saying, it's internal. So it's not always a tangible result that you will see. You will not always be able to tell that it's doing what it's doing. But I promise you, it works.
Yeah, you're laying a foundation. You're laying a foundation for whatever you're trying to bring in, for whatever you're trying to manifest, for whatever your ultimate vision is. Like, each of these things are tiny little stepping stones, and you can't really, I feel like where society is a little off right now is that, like, that realization that, people don't think that it takes these layers, these structures, this foundation, this building on top of layer, and like once you have that foundation of self-love, that foundation of entrepreneurship, then like things flow with a little bit more ease, then things can open up, doors open up. And it's just, but it takes time, it takes patience, it takes trusting yourself, and really like you gotta like deeply love yourself, like, to the point where like nothing else really matters. And like you gotta just be okay with being you and being by yourself. And that's just not a pleasant journey a lot of the time, but that does not mean it's not worth it.
Right.
I want to piggyback off of what you said, Brett, about building a foundation. That's something that I struggle with as far as being patient with the journey, because I feel like I'm working on my goals and I'm working on it diligently, but I'm not seeing the results. And that goes back to me having to unlearn the fact that I can be doing A, B, and C, and it might not come out the way that I want it to come out. But what I would say to somebody who's struggling with that, and I'm speaking to myself too, is to prioritize your mental health. I just had therapy yesterday with my therapist, and she was talking about, the resounding thing that I struggle with for me is that I feel like I'm never doing enough. and
Mm.
there's so much more that I can do. I mean, I can get up earlier than I'm getting up. I can do much.
Yeah.
I can do more, but I'm just like, I feel like as long as I get another chance at life and I wake up every morning, that I have to do more and I'm not doing enough. So, one of the things that she said was like the foundation thing. And then a lot of times we're building our roots or we're growing our roots and you're not going to see the depth. Um, but you're growing those roots deeply, and
Mm.
then sooner or later then it will grow into the things that you can visibly see, so, or visually see. So that's something that I would tell somebody who's struggling with. I'm still going through it, is to prioritize the mental health, seek professional help so that you can uh, share your feelings and your thoughts and your concerns with someone who's unbiased and who's not a part of the mix,
Hmm.
to get a fresh pair of lens on whatever situation that you're going through.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
What would you tell your younger self, the little girl in you? What would you tell them about the journey, where you are now? What would you say to them, like her?
I've actually kind of been thinking about this a lot this week just because I feel like the energy has been very like people are very it's very frantic. It's like a lot of go 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 when sometimes
Mhm.
an affirmation that I was going to give you, Jennifer, is that rest is productive,
Yes.
And so it's like I was thinking to myself, like, I mean, not that 20s is necessarily a little girl, but I was thinking about my 20s, early 20s. Like, why was everything like so fast paced in my mind? Like, why couldn't I just like slow down and not just be like go, 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 on all the time? But I just was at that time. Like, it was just like, had to be going, 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 going. So I would definitely tell my younger self to slow down, to like breathe, that like, it's we were talking about comparison. Comparison doesn't matter, like, because you're always in the exact place that you need to be at the moment that you're in it. Like, and the only moment that exists is right here and right now. And I think when you ground yourself in the here and now and breathe in the here and now, it like just puts things into perspective. And a lot of times we just go, 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 because we're really feeding off of like other people, of like society's flow, of society's rush, society's anxiety. And so we have to slow down, go within, breathe, and realize like, wait a minute, I can be on my own pace. I can be on my own flow. Like, nobody else has to dictate like how fast, how quickly I do things, when I do things, where I do things, what my end result may be. Like, it's just me, and it can be that way because I love myself.
Yeah, I think that's important too. Aside from me answering the question, what you're saying is super important because, especially as creative entrepreneurs and with Instagram
Mm,
and the algorithm, I
mm.
think has completely changed the process, the creativity process. Like, we are results and like numbers driven. Like, how often can I post, opposed to like quality and like really getting to like the meat of why am I creating this? Why am I doing this? So I think it's always important to return to your why when you're trying
Mm.
to implement your resting and stuff, because like you said,
Mhm.
if you're not well, you're not going to be able to do what you're called here to do anyway. So if your why is to help Black women, then Black women, go to sleep. You know what I mean? Get some rest, because that's what
Right,
you
right.
know.
Take a
So
nap.
I think it's like really prioritizing your wellness. That's self-love. Like, you need to be well. You can't help anybody if you're not well yourself. And then what I would tell my younger self, I would just tell her, like, listen, girl, you are so dope. You are as dope as you think you are. Like, but you don't need nobody else to validate that for you. And even though you are amazing, everybody's not gonna like you, and that's okay. That
It's
doesn't mean
okay.
that doesn't mean to dim your light. That doesn't mean nothing. That means you just keep being you, And eventually your tribe you will attract your tribe.
That four agreements rule is so key in entrepreneurship and self-love. You know, that rule that's don't take anything personally, because
Yeah.
you really just can't. Like, it's not a career where there's time to just sit and dwell on
Mm,
things and take things personally and go into like a mental spiral about it, because you don't have time. Like, it's just useless. It's not even that you don't have time. It's just like that's not a part of self-love, and that's just not productive. Like, you just don't, you can let that part go once you really deeply understand self-love. Like, you can let that anxiety of, stressing what other people think, what other people, you can let it go.
The
mhm.
fact that we put ourselves out there and put our work out there, that's a testament to our level of self love, because a lot of the people who are critiquing don't have the guts or bravery to do that thing. It's easier to uh, criticize somebody because it's probably showing a mirror to them, up to them, of what they're not doing. So, what I would say to my younger self is to like hone in on the value of your voice.
Mhm.
Don't let people tell you or shun you away because they think you're too quiet, you're too this or too that. There's a lot of people who don't say much, but they are they are intentional about what they say and when they say it. And there's more value in that than someone who runs their mouth and says a whole lot of nothing. So
Yes,
I
Jennifer.
think, yeah.
Preach. Because
So
that's
I
so
would say,
funny. Because I think that we all started out really quiet. Like, we were all very quiet people, and especially in college. And I think it took us a while to just find, not necessarily to find our voice, because I feel like we've always had voices, but we had to build foundation and figure out how we want to share our voice and how we want to share it in the most, productive way, the most beneficial way to like be collective, to help others. And I think that, when you can be quiet and you can observe for a while, then when you do share your voice, it's more clear, it's more profound, and it's more impactful.
Mhm.
no, agreed. Definitely. So one more question for you guys. So what would be a practice, um, how do I word this? What's a self-love practice that you do or make a part of your day-to-day to help you get in the mood when you don't feel like doing the work?
Mm. Hmm.
Uh, for me, when I'm not feeling it, I clean up.
Mm.
That's number one.
Oh,
My
that's good.
has to,
Right.
because my brain, I'm an overthinker, so I'll start overthinking, and all the clutter in the space will like contribute to it. So I
Mm.
start with cleaning up. I light candles. I light incense, sage,
Mhm.
Palo so I'm burning everything I got. I'm putting. I love to. I'm burning on a
Me
regular day.
too.
So when I'm
Right
not
now.
feeling it, I'm burning everything.
Candles.
And I'm walking around burning my sage, saying affirmations, saying prayers. I pray. Um, and I'll take a bath, um, or go to like the beach or some body of water, because I think water is healing. And I'll do like a gut cleanse. Like
Mm.
I will make sure I would like look at what I've been eating and then take note of that. And if I haven't been eating well, then I'll like, okay, I need to do a cleanse or a detox or stop eating certain things, because that has a very strong effect on like our mental as well.
Yeah, that's really profound. So I guess for me, when I'm not feeling it at all, or when I'm feeling like really hardcore resistance, and like I just don't feel like meditating, I don't feel like, doing my practice, because I usually do it daily, but some days I'm just like, in resistance. So what I've been doing as of late when that happens is just like, because usually I'll like read some affirmations or listen to someone's affirmations and then repeat it. But when I'm just like not feeling it, I'll just make them up in my head and then just like go through them. Like, you are worthy, you are amazing, or I say I am, like, I am worthy, I am amazing, I am miraculous, I can do this, I got this, like, I'm limitless, I have infinite potential, I am divine, I can do anything. And then I'll just repeat it in my mind, and it just, you know, starts to change the calibration of things. And then maybe I do feel like doing some kind of practice after that, or maybe I do feel like, you know, snapping back into things. But even if I don't, that still brings me out of like a lower place that I was in. And, you know, and I always do have, I love incense. Sometimes I feel like I need, like, I feel like I can't breathe. And like, when I light incense, it's just like, it feels so good. Like, it just flows energy around. That's an air sign thing, I think. But I also have one final question too, Jennifer, if you know.
But wait, I want to hear Jennifer's answer to this
Yeah, me
too.
too.
Okay. So what I do when I'm not in the mood, I try to listen to audiobooks around mindset. So the latest one, I told Brett about this week. I started listening to The Power of the Subconscious Mind because a lot of times I am neutralizing my prayers. I didn't realize that I was doing that. Like, if I'm praying or saying that I want certain things to come to pass, but then I'm worrying or I'm
Mm,
doing the exact opposite of it, like I'm doubting that it could actually happen, then I'm really just
Digging up.
undoing the work that yeah. So undoing the work that I just did. So I think working on my mindset and working on like this, I always think in my mind like God wouldn't have put this in my mind and in my heart unless he didn't want me to carry it through or see it through. So yeah, that's how I try to get out of my funk. There's some days where I just, just
Yeah, we
Netflix
all
all day, all night.
we all got those days.
yeah,
But
another thing too I think is good is like to just go for a walk or a
oh yeah,
jog or
that's
like movement, like because
Meditative walks are a
we
thing.
get yeah, sometimes whatever it is, we're just stuck in our body, and so we have to literally like move our body to move that negative or doubtful energy out. So even if it's just getting in the mirror and doing like hip rotations and shoulder rolls and things like that's very helpful too.
Yeah,
I
like some people
scared,
call
but
it state change, changing
hmm?
your state. Some people call it like a state change, you know, like you got to
yeah.
change and alter the state you're in, you know, and like you can do that with affirmations, you can do that with some movement, you can do that with a meditative walk, you can do that
Hmm.
like in many ways. But like when you're really feeling in a funk, you gotta, you know, you gotta do something, you gotta pick it up,
Hmm.
pick yourself up.
That's true. What was your question,
Oh,
Brett?
oh, and then before that, one more thing I was gonna say when you said you were talking about like, um, you know, just when you plant something, when you plant a dream, when you plant a seed. Stacy was actually saying this. I was editing some videos and I saw that she said this, but she was like, you know, when you plant something, like when you plant a seed and an idea, you know, if you're worrying about it, if you're stressing about it, it's like you're planting it and then you're like digging it up, you're digging it up, you know, and then like it's not growing. And then you got to plant it again. And then, you know, you wait, but you're like, I don't know. And you're like digging it up again. You're digging it up again. So it's just like that analogy really helped me. So yeah, I just want to share that.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, it is true because I'm like planting the seed and then like going back. Is it done yet? Is it done yet?
Hmm.
Or yeah, or digging it back up, like you said. Did you say you had a question
I
though?
do.
Oh,
I just wanted to know, like, did you guys, did you grow up learning self love? Like, did you learn self love like from your parents? Like, did you, you know, grow up like at 5 years old learning self love, or was it something down the line that you guys learned? You gals, you ladies.
Um, honestly, yeah, I think I did learn that. I learned it from my parents and in the household, like about like I, I mean, I don't, the depths of it is different as an
Right.
adult. Kid, I was surrounded by love and taught to love myself. I went to predominantly black Christian schools like growing up. So like I had black teachers and professors and stuff. So there was always like in that regard like representation in that we are beautiful and we
Mm-hmm.
are capable. And I think that's why when I'm talking to my younger self, it's like, girl, you really are that. Like reminding myself that it's true what I was being taught when I was younger. So I was
Mm-hmm.
at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Beautiful.
think for me, I I mean, I grew up in a loving household, very supportive parents, supportive family. I wouldn't say that they were like expressive about love and like you need to love yourself or honor your gifts or do that. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from them when I say this, but I feel like that wasn't, I mean, providing for us and making sure that we had good education and opportunities and like that was a priority. I don't think they sat me down or to talk about love or talk about
Mm.
um, courage and bravery. I don't remember those kind of conversations. And I had a different experience than you, Kelly, because I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood where I didn't really see myself. I didn't see myself at all. And I grew up very insecure because I have this birthmark that's so very large and it's a completely different color than the rest of my skin. But on top of that, I'm the only black child in school and people are looking at me wondering what it is. Did I get beaten or did I is it a burn or and like that made me really, really insecure. And I just remember a family member said, well, it's not even that, but like kind of brushing it off like, oh, please, like it's just a birthmark, who cares kind of thing. So I didn't really get that I didn't learn about affirmations and learn about embracing my inner and outer beauty until I got older.
And then you made a
And I
book about it. So
yes,
that's the
that
thing.
yeah, the book was healing for me because that's exactly what I needed when I was younger and experiencing the self doubt, the insecurities, and all that.
Yeah. And I think when you own your insecurities and when you can talk about it, or like when you can just like, hold them, like not take it so seriously, then I think that's when you turn things around and then you can flip that pain into power.
Mhm.
Um, for me, growing up, I would just say no. I did not learn it, but I mean, because of that, it's made like a career and a passion for me of advocacy and like really just teaching other people that it's important. I think it's important. I think it should be taught in school. I think it should be embedded in so many teachings because I think it is the foundation of like living an inner peaceful life. So, no, I didn't learn it in childhood, but I learned it later, like in college when I met you guys.
This is great. This has been a really good chat. I mean, I really love talking to both of you and just hearing about each other's experiences. Before we wrap up, though, what are some projects that you're working on and where can people find you after this?
Go ahead.
What am I working on right now? I'm shooting, I'm experimenting with some new things photography wise. So you can follow me at Scates Studios for that. And then I'm also gonna be releasing some new merchandise on the Urban Gypsy LA. So yeah.
Very cool.
Exciting. So yeah, me, I'm working on a new like art collection for my art brand. I call it Art by Brette. But I'm like working on a new collection for that. So right now I'm more so focused on my nonprofit, which is STUK Designs. And we have a bunch of things going on. You can check out our podcast, you can check out the blog, join our community. But yeah, I basically wanted to build a space and a community where, women could come together and hold each other in accountability for their self-love journeys and to, stay uplifted because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we're, stuck in our own heads and it's a lot of alone time sometimes that building. And I think community is everything, and I think it's more important than ever in these times that we are in. So I'm so excited that we did this conversation, and I hope we can do more. I'd love to bring on
Yes.
Stacy and whoever else. Shonda.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I definitely want to keep the conversation going. I think this is like an ongoing thing that we should definitely continue because the more we share our stories, the more people will see themselves in us and know what is possible.
Yes.
So this was great.
What are you working on, Jennifer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, what is the latest? So I'm working on the Spanish version of I Am Unique. So we should
Are you
have that launched.
are you translating this, or do you have a
Yes, it's in French right now, but we're translating it in Spanish. It's going to be out for the holidays, in time for the holidays. And if you want to learn more about I Am Unique and the things that we have going on, it's over at I Am Unique Book, and then Jennifer D. Vassel here on
That
this page.
is phenomenal.
That is.
Thank you. All right, well, you have a good Friday night. Hope you guys do something fun.
Yeah. Happy
Yeah.
Friday. Happy,
Happy Friday.
Women's Entrepreneurship Day, Friday. I hope you guys drink some wine tonight and,
Right.
celebrate and get a little festive.
I got my tea.
And I have LaCroix right here, so I'll be drinking that.
That's cute.
All right, take care.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank y'all for
y'all.
Bye.